All right, well, hopefully this works because I've never used the screen recorder for this long. But hello, welcome again to Technology Connections 2. I wanted to make a video about. Oh, I was going to explain the reason why I have so much crap. This is usually what I when I'm when I first upload a video, I like to monitor how it goes for a little while, so I tend to keep my Twitter open and the comments and the real-time analytics and the video manager because I obsess a little bit. But anyway, little this little intrusion into your day is about a little trivia of the Magic Kingdom in Disney World in Orlando. So far, I believe only people on Patreon know this. I've never revealed this on my main channel and probably won't, but you can know here because you're extra special because you follow me on Technology Connections too. But I myself was a cast member in 2014. I did not work here at the Magic Kingdom. I worked all the way down here at Disney's All-Star Music Resort in the food court. But anyway, so if you have like no knowledge of Disney, because basically there's people that obsess about Disney, which I would say I am, at least in terms of their history and technology, not so much as the company or their media empire, but certainly their theme parks I think are delightful. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with the way the Magic Kingdom was built, so the legend goes that Walt Disney really did not like. Here, this is what we should do. Ahaha. Let's go on the map and find the thing. I hope you enjoy this sort of content because I'll probably condense this a little bit, but we'll see. So this is Disneyland, and I should zoom out a bit. Disneyland is trapped because when Walt Disney built Disneyland, he didn't really envision, well, I guess he didn't really expect, because before Disneyland was here, this was basically just nothing. And when he built Disneyland, he only bought basically this rectangle, a little less because Paradise Pier wasn't originally Disneyland. So I don't know where where the boundaries were, but you can see it's surrounded by residential areas, and especially along like Harbor Boulevard, it's a little kitschy. The area around Disneyland is just kind of unpleasant, and particularly a weird thing. I mean, it's not. I shouldn't say unpleasant. It's not like, it's not like a ghetto or anything, but it's not controlled. It's uncontrolled by Disney. And one of the weirdest things is when you ride the monorail, you go along Harbor Boulevard, and you just see like the McDonald's and the hotels there, and there's a cafe near here called Tiffy's that we ate at once when I was like 10. I've only been to Disneyland twice. I spent much more time at Disney World. But anyway, back to Disney World. So when Walt Disney was purchasing the land for Disney World, he bought an absolute crap ton. It's twice the size of Manhattan, and if you don't know the story, he had all these shell companies created to disguise the fact that it was Disney that was buying all this land. So one of the things they did for the Magic Kingdom is the Magic Kingdom is basically separate from anything infrastructure. Anything to do with infrastructure is hidden. And for example, the parking lot. This is the parking lot all the way over here across the Seven Seas Lagoon, which itself is man-made. Bay Lake is natural. Seven Seas Lagoon is not. What they did was they dug out the Seven Seas Lagoon and built the Magic Kingdom on the second story. So if you're unfamiliar with the Utilidors, again, going back to Disney legend, it is said that Walt Disney saw a cast member from Frontierland walking through Tomorrowland. Maybe I have that backwards, but a cowboy in Tomorrowland, he really didn't like how that looked. So he envisioned, so for Disney World, he wanted there to be tunnels that you could move about the park out of guest view where people couldn't see you. And although Walt Disney died before Disney World opened, 5 years before Disney World opened, that dream of his was put into reality. And so what I want to show you is that surprisingly, one of the most central secrets of the tunnels is extremely visible on Google Maps. And I don't know if I mean, you would think either Google's just got great imagery or Disney just doesn't care. But in any case, I should say again, the Seven Seas Lagoon here was dug out. This was not here. And so they built up the Magic Kingdom. So almost everything in the Magic Kingdom is actually above ground by one story. And one way that you can tell if you're ever here at the park, whenever you ride a water ride like Small World or Pirates, well, Pirates is not really visible, but specifically Small World, you can tell you have to go down quite a bit to get to the actual water level. And that's because that's the actual ground level. Most of the park is built one story above. But as I ramble on here, let me zoom back out. I'm sorry if you're getting motion sick. I do apologize. So guests park here at the Transportation and Ticket Center and take either a monorail or the ferry boat to get to the park itself. And part of that is because, again, Walt Disney wanted the park to feel very isolated and disconnected from reality because he wanted it to be a very magical experience. That's why it's the Magic Kingdom. So nothing is that close to the park as except for really the Contemporary. That's probably the closest guest-facing area to the park itself. Everything else is pretty far. Now, if you're a cast member that works at the Magic Kingdom, you park on the north side of it. And this is where this is what's really easy to be revealed. So, how do you get to work? Well, the entrance to the utilidors, which is what they're called, is right here. And what's so weird, if you get your 3D view going on here and you take a look from the back, you can clearly see this area, which really you're not supposed to see. And so I've always thought this is very weird how well rendered this is. So when you are, if you work at the Magic Kingdom, and anybody who works at Disney for any reason, if it's a college program, which is what I was there, you go through what's called traditions, and traditions is done at back here at Disney University, which is one of these buildings. I think. Yeah, here you go, Disney University. So you take basically a class here, and then they give you a tour of the Magic Kingdom, and they show you the utilidors. So anybody that works at the Magic Kingdom, they take a shuttle bus that drives up here, drops them off right here, and then they will walk into this kind of like a loading dock type thing, but this is actually the entrance to the quote-unquote tunnels. So if you can imagine, this tunnel continues all the way forward to the very front of the park. It doesn't go underneath Main Street, but it goes under the Emporium, if I'm not mistaken. And it does go underneath Cinderella Castle. There is an elevator that brings people up into the castle itself. And then it branches off in two directions. So it also goes this way towards Tomorrowland and this way underneath Liberty Square. I do not believe it goes to Frontierland. There's a map somewhere. I'll put a link in the description. But the other thing that sort of gives a clue as to how the park is built. If you are walking this way from the old Fantasyland through the new Fantasyland, you're going to notice, it's more noticeable this way, I think, that you're going down. There's quite a bit of a drop in elevation here because what was originally Mickey's Toontown, this was an expansion done later, and this is ground level, and you can even see probably that this road here is at the same level as the park. So whenever you come this way, you have to go down a ways to get to it. But anyway, what else can I talk about that I happen to know because I'm an insider? So if you ever want to see this area, first of all, you can take the Keys to the Kingdom tour, which I don't know how much it costs now. It is really cool if you're interested in seeing behind the scenes of the Magic Kingdom. But they will take you into the utilidors and you can see them. They're not really that exciting. I mean, it just looks like service corridors in a hotel, except it's a little bigger. But they are, they do allow a lot of really great things to happen. And that's why the Magic Kingdom's theming is pretty much always perfect because people move around through these utilidors. The only thing that, I mean, to me, and this is the thing that just kind of sucks from a human resources standpoint, is that if you work, say, at the Emporium, which is on the south end of the park, you have to park here. And then you go to this area, which is called West Clock. Is this marked? No. Center Drive and Reams Road. Okay, well, internally they refer to this as West Clock. And I believe that's because sometimes you actually clock in here because you are paid for some of the time it takes you to get to your work location, because it takes quite a while. This walk through the tunnels, I'd say it's probably 5 to 10 minutes to get from this end to the Emporium, which is kind of like the other end of the tunnel if you're going straight through. But the thing, and I keep saying the word tunnel, it's not really a tunnel because this is Florida. If you dig like 2 feet into the ground, you've hit water. So the entire park is on the second story. Again, that's how the Seven Seas Lagoon was made, because they took soil out of the lagoon, built it up here where the park was built, and then basically they carved out channels going this way, and that way, and then built the park on top of that. And I've always, most of it's not that remarkable, but what is remarkable is the moat. The tunnels go right straight through the moat, and you never know they're there. And then, it's kind of like an open secret, again, just like the elevators of the Haunted Mansion. But it still is just hilarious to me that this area is rendered so well on Google Maps, because even like these trucks, so much of this is rendered in 3D. How do they do this? Google knows everything. What else can I show you that I know from my Disney trivia? Because I do collect all sorts of information in my head. Yes. So one thing, the fireworks. If you're ever here for the fireworks show, you may notice that they close the railroad whenever they do the fireworks. And that is because the fireworks are launched from way back here. I think you can see right here. Yeah. So this is actually the launching pad for all the fireworks. And, when you're a guest, if you're on Main Street, it looks like they're coming from behind the castle, and they are, but they're coming from way behind the castle. So if you're anywhere else in the park, the sight lines are a little screwed up. But from Main Street, which is where most people want to watch the fireworks, you'll see the fireworks back here. But this causes two snarls, because one, they have to close the train because the train goes very close to the launching pad. But also, if your shift is over and it ends when the fireworks happens, you can't leave this area. They won't let you. In fact, I believe they don't even let you in. You have to stay in the utilidors. I didn't work at the Magic Kingdom, so I don't know for sure, but some of my roommates did. And it was kind of just like the most inconvenient thing if you had a shift that ended right when the fireworks were happening, because for safety reasons, they don't let you leave. So for that 15 minutes, you just had to just sit there and wait. Also, let me turn this back around because this is like the normal perspective. I find it a little humorous that Small World and the Haunted Mansion are really right next to each other. They're like about as different as you can get between attractions. So, if you welcome back to, I had to interject because I completely forgot to mention a thing. Let's go back to here, and what I was going to say was, if you want to see the Utilidor entrance better, okay. Wow, my computer's stressing out right now. Screen recording with Premiere open and Google Maps. Anyway, if you want to see, I completely forgot this, and I'm such an idiot. You can see the Utilidor entrance, this area here, from the railroad if you're careful. I'm too low of an angle, so I got to see. So this, the Disneyland Railroad, or the Disney World Railroad, only has 2 or 3 stops. So if you ride from the Frontierland station to the Fantasyland station, pay close attention, because once you pass the little Native American show scene here, which I find is weird. I only just noticed this. It's like completely isolated from everything, and both the riverboat and the train go through this scene, but this is pretty much the most remote thing you're supposed to see. at Magic Kingdom. So that's humorous. But anyway, right after you pass this, and the railroad track is straight for this section, if you look to your right through these trees, you can see this area. And not well, obviously, but because this retention pond or whatever this is not forested, you can actually see this area. So if you're very careful, ride the train. Once you pass the Native American scene and you're going straight, keep your eyes peeled, look to your right, look through the trees, and you can see this area. And also, I should provide more context. This is the back of Small World. So Small World actually extends behind the Utilidors, or behind the Utilidor entrance. And then this area here, this is all relatively new. This is the Be Our Guest restaurant. And I suppose this area here is the Enchanted Tales with Belle. And then here, so when you're in New Fantasyland and you go by Gaston's Tavern, you're pretty much almost on the edge of the Magic Kingdom. So this new area where the Under the Sea journey is with the Little Mermaid, this is, again, the show building for the attraction. But much of the line gets extremely close to the edge of the park boundaries. But the other thing I wanted to mention, too, when you ride the railroad after this point, you'll go under this bridge. And this bridge here is where all the cast members go. So depending on timing, you might see a bus go over this way. It looks just like all the other Disney buses that guests take to and from their hotels. But also, this is the like high security giant barrier thing that the buses have to go through. And you can actually see one of them up by the front of the park here. So depending on if you take the monorail, you might see a bus or some other vehicle go through this huge metal barrier thing, because this path goes, actually, where does, oh, this way. This path goes behind Main Street. So if you were coming this way, you would see that. Anyway, now we're going to go on. This is a very long video, so I hope you're just fine with chilling. But now I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant about my feelings towards Disney and man, I'm so bad. The other thing, I keep seeing this picture go around on like Facebook of a water bridge, and they're like, oh my God, a water bridge. There's been one at Disney World forever. And it's just like, does no one know this is here? Buses go under it. And you can see it from the monorail. The Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake are connected by this water bridge that World Drive goes underneath. So you'll see boats occasionally going over the roadway. And, that's pretty neat. But I always thought it's funny because I keep seeing this post going around that's like, oh, the water bridge, so amazing. And yet there's one in like the biggest tourist destination possibly in the world. But anyway, I'm about to go on a bit of a rant about the animosity towards Disney parks and why they are considered artificial and why I don't really like that argument. Then the video will finally end. I noticed a couple of people were like, just in the comments that said they've never really wanted to go to Disney World before. And, I understand if you want to avoid crowds. If you come in like February, you won't have many crowds at all. And the thing about Disney World is Magic Kingdom is great and delightful, but what you really love, what most people my age really love, is Epcot, because Epcot is Epcot. And yes, Future World is crumbling and really needs help, and it's starting to get it. But Epcot is, you could just spend days at Epcot not even doing anything. It's one of the most pleasant, like in World Showcase, it's just one of the most pleasant places to be. And Epcot is also enormous. So the area around World Showcase Lagoon here is about a mile. So Epcot is really, really, really big. And I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, but that the parking lot for Epcot is the largest single-story parking lot in the world because it was built to address the capacity of the park. And the capacity of Epcot is enormous, and I don't believe it is ever full because there's just so much room. I mean, you look at all the pavement here in Future World, and then imagine in World Showcase, you just got all this room. But anyway, I did want to bring up one thing about the Disney parks that I feel very strongly about. And there are people that don't like the Disney parks because it's artificial. And Epcot gets a lot of hate for this because Epcot is supposed to be like a permanent World's Fair. You have all the different pavilions from different countries around the world. And Disney specifically, they have the international college program. So most of the people that work in these pavilions are interns from the actual countries that they represent. So they do a wonderful job of making this as real as they can, though it is artificial. But my problem with people having the argument of the parks are artificial, therefore it's not a real experience. Some people are like, if I'm going to travel, I want to go to Spain or I want to go to Italy. I don't want to see some recreation of it in Orlando. Okay, that's fair. But I don't like people's arguments that this experience is artificial, therefore it's not worth having. Because, for one thing, I understand that argument, but I also think it's just kind of dubious. Because if you are, well, for one thing, they call this one man's dream, and of course Walt Disney did not create Disney World single-handedly. There were thousands of people that contributed to this, but all of those people spent so much time and effort making this incredible experience that I think, it's very expensive, and the consumerism aspects of the company are like, they distasteful. They put a bad taste in, I think, anybody's mouth. But they created this experience. They did a fantastic job with this experience, and there's nothing else like it. And if you will avoid going there simply because it's quote unquote artificial and quote unquote not real, well, I almost feel that disrespects the creativity of the Imagineers, and even just like the people that work there, the cast members that are there day in and day out. They're there to create this experience for their guests. And yet, if you're going to call that not worthy of experiencing because it's artificial, I don't know how I feel about that. So much, we create things for the enjoyment of others. And the theme parks in general are like this, but specifically the Disney theme parks, which are rooted in storytelling and are probably the most elaborate theme parks you'll find, especially when it comes to theming and pleasantness. Just, I won't lie. It's not like they're not artificial. Of course they are, but I don't like hearing that as a justification of avoiding them, because it's like, well, you go to an art gallery, that's all artificial. Like, you see this, because I guess it's because people feel that this experience is sort of manufactured, and it's there. To be honest, it exists to make money for the Walt Disney Company, but I think that's where most of the animosity comes from. It's not necessarily from just the, it's not necessarily the knee-jerk, this is artificial, not worthy experience of doing things, but wow. I realize I'm now recording this for like 19 minutes, so I'm probably going to shuffle the order of this around a little bit. But anyway, I'm just gonna, I think we're just gonna zoom out and end this. But thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel, both of them, and thanks for everybody on Patreon. And if I don't know how good I am at this sort of video, so please tell me. And also, yes, my microphone, I need to get better. I'm going to buy better microphones. Right now, I'm just talking into my Tascam DR05, which has a lot of noise for whatever reason, so I apologize if this sounds bad. But I'm eventually gonna be. Don't you worry, things are gonna get better. In fact, I might even go on Amazon right now and buy a couple things. But anyway, thanks so much for supporting the channel, and I will see you later.